new IT investments. That's how we put those plans to work from the architecture and we make them pay off. After that is the PMO, the Project Management Office. That's how we execute on those projects and on those IT investments that we've chosen and on those plans. And we know we need to execute better. Next, CRM, we talked a little bit about that earlier, is customer relationship management. We need to service and support our customers from the beginning, from the requirements, through the development, through operations and maintenance. Some say to service them with like one belly button, one call does it all, but we need to be there for our customers at the end of the day because that's why we're here. Number 5, ITS is IT security. We need to secure, obviously, all the information in the organization. That goes without saying. And number 5, the business performance measurement. We need to measure in order to manage, and that's the feedback loop back into the planning cycle. These 6 together will help us to drive improved IT operations in our organization. And each of these 6 IT strategic functions is important in and of themselves. I would argue that they're critical. But taken together as a whole, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts if we do this the right way. Now, what I found that was also interesting is that the CIO Support Services Framework is closely aligned with this diagram from, and many of you again may be familiar with this, from National Defense University, right here in Washington, the IRM College. And they have a program, they actually have a certificate program called the CIO program. I actually did that program as well as their eGov program. But the way they model that program is on 12 CIO core competencies. And if you briefly look at these, oh, they're very familiar. They align very closely with those 6 IT strategic functions in the Office of the CIO for the CIO Support Services Framework. What they're teaching our next generation CIOs to be doing is these 12 competencies. We need to support our CIO and IT leadership by providing them the 6 strategic functions they need in order to carry out these duties. Essentially, what we're doing with this Office of the CIO and the CIO Support Services Framework is we're centralizing strategic functions and strategy with this Office of the CIO. And the idea is not to preclude other people from participating in these strategic functions, rather to provide a structure and a process and a channeling mechanism for bringing the good ideas, the innovation, the ideation, and transformation to bear on the organization. And with this model, we can address the issues of short-termism in crazy world. We can become more user-centric. We can break the firefighting paradigm. We can ensure that our IT strategic functions are no longer starved or ignored. We can create simple, streamlined, and integrated IT processes across all those siloed functional areas. And we can pull holistically from the IT management best practices from wherever they reside to support better IT decisions, execution, and customer satisfaction. So what are the benefits from moving to this model? 2 benefits I'd like to leave you with today. Number 1, better strategic formulation. Why? Why are we going to be able to do that? If we have those 6 strategic functions, we're going to have planning, investing, executing, servicing, securing, and measuring. We're going to have the things we need to help the CIO establish the vision and the strategy and the execution mechanism for the organization. And that leads to the improved IT execution. From having a robust office of the CIO that's really resourced, that's really taken seriously, and that's functioning the way it's intended to, we can drive the goals of enterprise architecture and of IT leadership. Things like information quality, information sharing and collaboration and transparency, systems, the consolidation, the interoperability, the component reuse, build once and reuse multiple times, and technology, standardization, simplification, and cost efficiency. We can drive improved IT operations by following principles and values and good business and IT common sense. So what can we do today? There are 5 steps we can start taking immediately. Number 1, on the lower left, is leadership and management commitment to doing this. The commitment to breaking the firefighting paradigm, to not continue doing the same thing we're doing every day is fighting those fires, but to change what we're doing, to set aside the time and the commitment and the resources to address this in a different way than what we've been doing before. Number two, to do this, it involves an effort of some sort of restructuring or reorganization in the CIO function, in the IT function. We need to bring these strategic IT functions together within an office of the CIO. Number three, important, we need to really fund and resource these activities and not treat it as a compliance mechanism, as an ivory tower effort, as something we do because the Clean Air Cohen Act says we have to do it, so okay, Joe is going to do this in the corner there. That's not going to be effective. Number four, continuing from a human capital perspective, we need to train and provide tools to our staff to really execute on this. And number five, it's an ongoing focus. We're not going to achieve the results overnight, but through a sustained commitment to improvement, to structure, to process, to re-engineering the way we're doing business. By following the CIO Support Services Framework, we will be able to cure the firefighting illness rather than just continuing to treat the symptoms. The status today, the gears are in motion to do this, to make improvements in the way we function, to turn our project failure rate into a project success rate, to turn high attrition into commitment to staying with our organizations because things are working well. And where I see this going, the vision on this, is that all 6 of the strategic IT functions that we talked about will exist in the organization. They will work together like the gears in motion, and they will help us to drive improved IT operation. And it's still a work in progress. We're at the early stages of creating understanding and awareness for what the issues are and how we can address it. But I think it's going to be a great opportunity for all of our organizations for the future. I'd like to end with just a quote from Sun Tzu, whom probably many of you are familiar with. He's the author of a book, a text called The Art of War. And about 2,500 years ago he wrote this. 2,500 years ago, it was before I was born even. All men can see the tactics whereby I conquer, but what none can see is the strategy out of which victory is evolved. So I want to thank you all for your time and attention today, and I appreciate being able to address you all. And that's my contact information. And with that, I'm going to